Well, it is 12 o'clock on the East Coast, so good afternoon. We are here again, just on a Thursday, Friday, every Thursday, every Friday. We are talking about something to do with couples conflict, relationship issues, the whole deal. That's what we do at Couples Fight School. It is now 12 o'clock, like I said, on the East Coast, and the weather outside is frightful. No, the weather outside is awesome.
Beautiful.
And we had a really good session last night, and we're gonna do this again. What are we talking about today? I didn't even introduce myself or this lovely person next to me, because I guess that I assumed that you guys know who we are already. So let me not assume that. Let me introduce my wife here. What is your name? My wife.
I'm your wife.
Right.
Natasha Pemberton-Todd here.
And Dr. Carlos Todd here. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's a little bit different, but it's nonetheless a very important topic. We're talking about how introverts and extroverts can find love and find connection.
We have no idea on this topic.
No,
we had to
this
dig
is
really hard.
No, this particular topic I think was personally inspired in a sense, because I think that we pretty much have a very good handle on the extrovert introvert thing here. I think we're both. Who's the extrovert and who's the introvert?
Ha! Can you guys guess?
Right.
Who's the extrovert? We'll tell them the answer at the end.
Right. Well, I think that they're going to be able to figure it out pretty easily. Who's the extrovert and who's the introvert?
Neither of us know.
No. Marlene.
Hey, Marlene!
Good afternoon. Welcome to Toddville.
Thank you. And Toddville is here in full force. We have the graduate with us today, so if you hear noises in the background, yes, Princess is here.
Right. So welcome.
Say hi to people.
Want to say hi? Come on, say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
This is the graduate,
Right.
rising kindergartner.
What'd you graduate from? Did you tell them? What'd you graduate from?
Preschool.
Preschool, correct. That's right. You graduated from preschool. And so she's just saying hi. I don't know how long she's going to stay, but nonetheless.
Maybe in and out.
Yeah, I think so.
You see her shirt? She wanted to make sure she matched.
Look at that
She's
shirt.
part of it.
You see that shirt? That shirt says, the thing is in reverse, so if you can't see that, it says, we fight fair. Correct. And so we're all kind of sporting different t-shirts today. Again, the thing is in reverse, but I'm wearing my official I Run Towards Conflict t-shirt.
Custom made.
Exactly. This was made in the Toddville factory. And Natasha's wearing her love t-shirt. Compliments of
Oh, our church.
Correct. And so what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk a little, and I know that it's 12 o'clock in the day, so some of you are gonna actually watch this after at some point in time in the future.
And some of you may be watching this on your lunch break.
Right. Some of you may be watching it right now. But either way, let's dig in. So.
Before you dig in, I want to make sure that we know that there may be new people watching even after you may be watching the replay. But so just to explain a few things to you, those of us who are here regularly, they're aware of this. But in the first part of the broadcast, oftentimes you will see us kind of looking down. At times we are on our phones because we oftentimes are sharing the broadcast as we go, especially in the beginning. And that's why you see us kind of peep down. We also have our notes down here. So if you see us looking down, we're not being rude. We are just trying to manage a number of things at the same time. Soon enough, we'll have a production team that will take care of all of that. But for now, we're multitasking.
We're the chief cookses and bottle washers. So we are the cameramen, the moderator, the lighting and sound and studio people.
And the makeup artists.
Makeup artists, t-shirt designers, hairstylists, all in one. and then I mean, ultimately, you're not really interested in that. What you're interested in is content.
Right.
And so we're by the way, talking about content, so we've passed the 4,000 mark in terms of the followers on Couples Fight School, and so that is much appreciated from you guys. So I'm happy that we're kind of pushing past that mark, and we're looking now towards 5,000 in terms of followers. So we're edging along.
Hey,
and
Dion.
So hi Dion, we're edging along very, very quickly. We're probably adding probably a couple hundred every week, and so that's kind of the goal. So next goal is 5,000, and so we're moving along. So we're talking today about this topic that we have no idea what it is. This particular topic is, how do introverts and extroverts actually find and keep love? So this is kind of a crazy topic, because you have a situation where where for some individuals, one person is just super outgoing, super into all kinds of things social, and the other person is not, right? And so, and I mean, the reality of it is that that's our household. I mean, that's kind of the way how we worked, and in some ways it's still that way. I mean, I'm not saying going to say who's what.
You're supposed to be guessing who's the extrovert and who's the introvert.
That's right. So if you can guess who's the introvert and who's the extrovert, you get a prize. I actually might just give away one of my books today, The Fight Plan. So if you can guess not only that thing about who's the extrovert and who's the introvert, and a few other things, I probably will give away a book or two today. I should have done it last night, but nevertheless, those of you who were on last night, you missed it. You want to go back and check out last night's broadcast.
Hi, Eddie and Ashley.
Hey, Eddie. Who's the introvert and who's the extrovert in your relationship, Eddie and Ashley? Maybe you can share that with us. Let us know who's the introvert and who's the extrovert. Mm-hmm. So this can actually be a good thing, introvert versus extrovert, and it could be a challenging thing for people in relationships. Because one person's energy comes from the outside, and the other person's energy comes from the inside.
And I think that's important to explain.
But why don't you explain it for us? Because that's something that I think it might be really easy for you to explain.
I think that's important. You determine an extrovert versus an introvert based on how they spend or how they're recharged. So you can have, I mean, and I don't know how many of you have been into it, so they're, temperament theories.
Let me do this. Let me step aside for a second. 1 second. Go ahead.
Temperament theories have been around for a very long time. You would have, and there are various models of it. So, but it's easy for people to, in the popular culture, to hear extrovert versus introvert. Most people know what that is, but just for making sure that we understand what this looks like is how you get to how you are recharged. And recharge does not always, sometimes you can see somebody who looks extroverted because they're very outgoing and social and that kind of thing, but they may actually be introverted because how they recharge is not necessarily with people, but they do a lot of things, solitary activities to recharge. So they have to have time by themselves, or they may like reading, or things that basically they do by themselves, or can be done by yourself.
How does that work? So they look kind of
Well, with most temperament theories, and this is why it's important depending on who you follow. You have the one that talks about cholerics, melancholics, sanguines, phlegmatics. Yes, those are the four. Then you have one theory that talks about DISC. I would want to go into all four because, hi Kiana, not sure, I don't remember what all the things in DISC stand for, but there's a DISC theory. There's a DISC theory, and then there's another one. Dr. Cloud and Thompson are good
boundaries.
Yes, the boundaries people. I want to say they're the ones that wrote this book. Oop, I may be wrong, but they wrote one that talks about the golden retriever and uses three other analogies. For the most part, most people divide them into four groups. So you have two extroverted tendencies, two introverted tendencies. But the thing about it is that human beings are complex. So you can have a person with a combination of the two. So there may be some extroverted qualities, but if you actually do testing, because there are some assessment tools, they may score higher on the introvert, but just, they have a significant amount of extroverted tendencies that will make them look extroverted.
Okay, so I mean, the basic idea, for kind of keep it simple for us,
Right.
the basic idea is that, for the extrovert, the energy comes from, they have to refuel kind of its social interaction.
Yes.
Those kinds of things.
They must have things that involve other people,
right,
in order to recharge and to really feel. And how do you know if you're recharged? Like when you leave the event, even though you may be physically tired, you're kind of pumping on the inside and you're excited and all that kind of stuff. That's how you know you've recharged. Whereas some people, in as much as they love people, that they may have to take some time by themselves in order to navigate, right, or to manage even being with people. And sometimes when we think of introverts, we think of people who are antisocial or who might go in and they're recluse somehow and they're always avoiding people. That's not an introvert. An introvert actually likes people, but if you take them to a party, here's what you're going to see. The extrovert is going to make friends with everybody in the group one time. The introvert is going to probably observe first,
right,
and then maybe make small talk with one or two people in the party. When you walk away, the extrovert is going to have like cards, these many cards in a networking event,
right,
and the introvert is going to have
none.
These many cards, right? Because for the introvert, it's not a matter of not liking people. It's a matter of the quality of the relationships.
Right.
Whereas for the extroverted person, they just love having a lot of people around altogether. I mean, not that they don't like quality in the relationship, but they tend to make those relationships a lot faster. So that is the difference. That is the difference. Can you adjust that, please? So we have some extra things going on.
Hold on a second.
Yes. So with that, with the understanding of that, I want to make sure we have that groundwork necessary. Told you the entire village is here today. I want to make sure we have that groundwork necessary, so that when we talk about extrovert and introvert, you really have a good understanding of what that is, and really be able to evaluate your partner accordingly. Because sometimes we may think the person is extroverted when they're not, or we think they're introverted when they're not. So we need to be clear about
which is which.
Which is which.
So let's kind of get in really quick to some of the things that may show you who's the introvert and who's the extrovert in the relationship. So I have about 7 or 8 points here. And so I wanted to kind of go over them with you. If you're talking about sometimes in a conflict, if you're looking at conflicts, in a conflict, you may have a situation where one person prefers to kind of sit and just kind of think it through, think it out, that kind of stuff, and the other person wants to resolve it right now, right here, right now.
They want to talk a lot.
Right?
Whereas the other person needs time. Exactly.
So the extrovert in some ways may want to talk the issue out, and the introvert in some ways is maybe the person who wants to kind of pull back. And remember, part of the conversation is kind of understanding that that this is where Dion says.
Which one, the extrovert or the introvert?
Which one?
I can guess, but.
right. Resolve it right now.
Yeah.
The part of the issue is understanding what you're seeing, understanding that in some way that some of this stuff is so biologically hardwired that that's just the way how that person is. Mm-hmm. And to say we need to talk about this now, get it over with now, or why is she talking so much, right? Mm-hmm. You know, because you don't want to insert the issue of disrespect into a conversation that's already complicated because you're dealing with an extrovert and an introvert. If you insert disrespect into the conversation, it is no longer about the issue. What is it about is that no matter whether you are right and I'm wrong, my responsibility at this point is to defend myself from you.
What do you mean by disrespect? Like, give an example of what that would
So
look like.
disrespect would be, why do we have to talk about this? Why do we have to finish about this right now? Or something along the lines of, you know, talk to me, you know? Why are you sitting there saying nothing, right? I think in some ways that...
Maybe chastising the person for
right,
not talking.
That too, and I have done that, right? It's communicating, right? Exactly. It's communicating to that person that their way of operating is inferior to yours.
Right, and I'm glad you talked about the inferiority part, and because the thing about temperaments is that they are genetically imposed. Genetically, of course, we have nature versus nurture. So there are some genetic components, and there are some social components, which you hear us talk about all the time: attachment issues, etc., etc. But ultimately, the thing to know and understand is that the person isn't doing this out of spite.
Right.
I mean, I teach a class on temperaments about once a year for the past few years, and I always talk about how this understanding temperaments revolutionized my leadership style. Because once I realized that people weren't just doing things to spite me, and that, you know, my way wasn't the only way to do things, that I became a lot more strategic in how I presented information, how I asked different things of different people, the amount of support I gave different people, because it was based on their, once I understood their temperament style, then I can approach them differently. I'll approach an introvert very differently to an extrovert because they have different needs. So the person who's introverted, I may need to give them some time to think about something, or if I know that a change is coming up, I need to let them know in advance so they can prepare mentally and physically, especially if that change involves people. So I need to let them know in advance. So these are the people who maybe talking about relationships now. So this is the introvert, may be the person who does not like people to just show up at the door.
Right.
It's not because they understand they're biologically wired. They have to plan things through. They have to think things through, and that is not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just a thing. Right. So in your relationship, if you've been following us long enough, if you haven't, go back in the archives. There are many things you have to learn to catch up on what this community talks about. But you've heard us talk about many times that everything is not a thing.
Right.
And most of the conflicts that we have in relationships are not resolvable. It's never going to be, oh, we figured it out all the time. Some things are going to irk you all the way through, but it's how you manage. And last night you talked about embracing the anxiety. Right.
How far is all the way true? All the way true is till death do you part. So I mean, you may have a skirmish on an issue, and this is one of the things that I've learned over time, that even with the extrovert-introvert issue, you may have a skirmish over time. You may have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you know, you're kind of going back and forth. And just let it die there. I mean, it is not an issue that you need to stay with and ponder on and resolve, because it's just not necessarily resolvable, you know. Sometimes, and again, this is a place that I've been, unfortunately, where you want to talk about an issue into the wee hours in the morning, right? You don't, it's not, there are a lot of things that are ultimately not going to change. And if they change, hurrah, you know. But
what tends to happen though is when there's that, and I think we have to also know, again, go back to our previous thing, because human beings are very complex. So there's temperament issue, and then there's an attachment issue.
Right.
And if you have an anxious attachment style, then you're also going to be wanting to resolve it right away all the time, you know, and because as part of things that are not resolved, or things that are chaotic tend to be provoke a lot of anxiety, and so you want to part of getting rid of that anxiety is getting rid of the thing. I remember last night's conversation that you can't get rid of the anxiety just because you're anxious. You sometimes you just have to learn to embrace anxiety and push through it. Right? So
and I think part of, and I talked to someone about this yesterday, part of this issue is understanding that your partner is not 100% responsible for your emotional comfort. maybe 90%, maybe 85%, but not 100%. Hey, Sean again. This is our new friend from last night, right?
She's not new.
No, she's not new anymore. This is our friend from.
No, for a long time. She's been tuning in from.
But she's been tuning in from before.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
That's why I moderate.
Okay. There's some people I just don't see.
She doesn't usually comment a lot, so
okay,
that's why. But she's on.
Okay. So,
hey, Sean, nice to see you. Hey, Carrie, nice to see you too.
This is my brother from way back when. My brother. No, England.
Right. That brother.
Right.
Okay, got you.
This is my brother. We will be brothers to the end.
Sean, you're very right. Introverts tend to be drained later.
Right. So introverts drain later. Extroverts. Introverts drain later. They drain faster too.
Yeah, it's one of those things like if an introvert has a lot of people involvement, they have to have time to recover.
Right.
To bounce back from that. Whereas the extrovert can go from one party to the next party to the next party to the next party, or next gathering of people, and they're energized and they can keep going. The introvert has to take even as much as they love people, are going to need to take some time to step back and to recharge, and then they come back out, and they can be social and all of that, but they are usually exhausted by the end. Remember, you're supposed to be guessing which of us are extroverted,
which is the introvert, which is the extrovert. Hey, Carrie, this is right. My brother said we were brothers for life. That's right.
So that means I have to meet you one of these days.
I know.
I hear about you all the time. So, hi, Damon. Good to see you.
So, I don't think that I kind of fully, massage the issue of. I don't think I fully massage massage the issue of anxiety and understanding that in anxiety, when you face a situation where the extrovert is doing something that you may not necessarily like, sometimes it may make sense to just say, oh, well, I guess that's the way how he is, or that's the way how she is, and move on. Ultimately the issue is respect and value. So we talked about the idea that in conflict, one person wants to sit back and think, the other person wants to resolve it now. I think the mantra going through this whole conversation is, I think we have a new name here.
Todd.
The mantra going through this whole conversation is respect the difference, value the difference, because ultimately you don't want to have this conversation about the fact that you don't respect me, you don't value me. Let it stay about what the issue is. The other one, in terms of the extrovert, is that the extrovert needs to be rescued from drawn-out conversations or parties. The extrovert needs to be rescued. The introvert, needs to be rescued from situations that are bothersome. The introvert needs to be rescued from these social events that they're like, oh, I want to go. I don't want to deal with this right now. Right?
Hey, Tandika, is this a new friend?
New friend?
First time tuning in. As a newlywed, this is pretty helpful.
Hey.
Good. Go back in our archives. We have lots of stuff there if you want to really catch up on what we've been talking about. I'm sure you'll find things there that you're interested in. You and your spouse are interested in.
Right. And so hit me up if you have a question. Let me know. We'll try our best to answer. So you have the situation where the introvert operates that way. On occasion, you can take separate cars to a party.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, this is a good one, right? I think this is particularly interesting. Sometimes taking separate vehicles to an event, so that one person may be like, "Oh, I've had enough. I need to go," and the other person is like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this into the late evening, right?"
Right.
And that's okay, right?
Right.
Because we can't understate the idea that for some people, energy comes from those social interactions. It comes from, it's almost like that person can love you better, based on, or love you more or better or the higher quality love because of where their energy comes from. For some people that energy comes from inside. And for some people, that energy comes from outside.
Luanda, I am with you. I understand how funny that might be.
Right.
She says she's more introverted. But if you know Luanda, she talks a lot and
Right.
it's seems to be very outgoing. But I understand exactly where you are, Luanda. Remember, you guys are still guessing who's extroverted and
Right.
who's
Well,
introverted.
remember, I'm giving away one of my books today for a fight plan. What to do before, during, and after a fight to keep the love alive. Extremely important book. You can actually check it out on wefightfair.com. But if you can figure out who's the introvert and who's the extrovert today, you actually might get a copy. Between the two of us, that is, you might get a copy of the book. We have a little one standing.
Yes.
Right.
If you see me looking away a bit, Princess is up to princessy things like creating and artists. She went to get all her art supplies to start creating stuff. So don't know where she got that from.
Right.
Hi, Lika.
So, Dika, I don't know your names, or however, I think your husband is. We'll see.
We'll see. This is Dr. Carlos Todd, and my name is Natasha Pemberton-Todd, and we're both licensed professional counselors as well as professional educators of adults and business owners, etc., etc., etc. You can read more about us on www.masteringconflict.com as well as couplesconflicts.com, and you can buy our merchandise at wefightfair.com.
Right. So those are important websites to check out.
Luanda, you really believe that? Okay, we'll see if you're right.
Exactly. You'll see who's right and who's
She
not
knows me
right.
very well, though.
She's having a kick out of that.
Yes.
You want to say hi again?
Again?
Hi.
This is Princess of Toddville.
You see all the people. There are people kind of scrolling up and down. They're talking back and forth to us.
You said hi. Okay. We'll make your creation. You can show us at the end.
So one of the other ways to kind of have a sense of who's the introvert and who's the extrovert is kind of understanding a little bit about the extrovert tends to have a whole big circle of friends. The introvert, on the other hand, one friend, right? Right. So you know if you have the introvert or the extrovert. The introvert, very few friends that they may have had for a long time, and then the introvert is like making friends every day. Right?
You know the whole life story before the end of the first minute.
Every day they're making friends. So right, and it's like you know them before you meet them because they've told their whole
and
story.
again, these are neither right nor wrong approaches to life. They're both necessary. I often say to people who are in leadership, and this is very pertinent. Even set has just fallen back down. Welcome to the shenanigans of Couples Fight School in Toddville. Anyway, this is gonna look hilarious.
I know, it's gonna be funny.
Rebroadcast. Anyway, but what I was saying is that you have to see these, instead of seeing it as either or, right or wrong, you have to see how these things purpose and strengths. And I always talk about, we tend to share a lot out of our lives because we're fellow travelers too. And when we were purchasing our first property, it was such an interesting but telling sign of how we learned up until that time to harness what's the strengths amongst us. So introverts, generally, you have different kinds of introverts. And generally, they're detail-oriented people. Between the two of us, we're detailed in different ways.
Right.
And so, we were having the regular conversations about, purchasing a property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, the person was talking about one thing, like the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And you saw one of us, our eyes glazed over.
Right.
I can let you guys guess which one it was. Eyes glazed over, right? And then as soon as the numbers discussion was done, then that person's eyes glazed over and the other person was in full view with pen in hand and asking a lot of questions and all that kind of stuff. I let you guess which one was which. Guess. But the point is that whether you're introverted or extroverted, whether your partner is introverted or extroverted, you have to find a way to see how to harness the strengths. So the extroverted person in the relationship may be the one that helps to maybe expand or build connections that are valuable to the relationship over time. Whereas the person who is more introverted may be the one who may be more detailed about finances and therefore able to really set up a good plan for the long term, build for retirement and that kind of thing. The person who is extroverted may have a wide circle of friends, but the person who is introverted may be able to maintain real solid friendships for an extremely long time that can become a real source of strength when it comes to like difficult situation. So you have to find what these strengths are and work from strength, not from, well, they're not like me kind of deal. You have to work from strength and see how that strength works and how you can support and supplement each other as a result.
Right, and I think, we're going back to respect the differences. The idea that, and behind that, again, I'm repeating myself, part of the challenge that many people face is that when we see something that's different, then there's this fear that I can't allow this person to take over my life with all these friends, or you're too boring, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Who's right and who's wrong?
Right.
You're too boring, or why do you have all these people in your life? And the reality of one of the things that I'm learning in marriage or in relationships is that fear is what binds us. Fear causes us to try to crush the difference, as opposed to try to find a way to massage it again into massage it into making it a part of our lives, make it a part of the experience that we have in being connected to one another. So the introvert needs the extrovert at times, and the extrovert needs the introvert. And so I think it's important that we continue to have a real good sense of, managing our fear, and also understanding, respecting the value that other person brings to your life. Mm-hmm. Respecting the fact that person, that the introvert may need, some time alone to work on a task, and it's not that they don't like you, and it's not that they don't want to be with you, but that person needs, in that moment, a little bit of time to rejuvenate, to reconnect with themselves, mm-hmm. so that ultimately can reconnect with you.
Right. So when you plan, so let's put this into, what about the types of introverts and extroverts? Okay. That's a technical question, Luanda. Right. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But when you're planning, so to kind of put that, what you just said, into a practical sense, when you're planning an event or a series of events, let's say like this is a holiday weekend, so this is a perfect way to talk about this. Mm-hmm. So you may be the extrovert and you want to have the cookout or the barbecue or whatever large event, invite the entire neighborhood so we can get. You just gave away your feelings about that. Invite the entire neighborhood or at least your block to the house to get to know everybody. You have some new neighbors. You want them to come over and all that kind of stuff. And all the while, your introverted spouse is cringing. Like, why do we need to do all of this or whatever? So what you have to do is to find a compromise, because what may happen is you only have the people over at, between 2 and 4, right. Or build in the activities in such a way that your person can have a place to, to retreat to in the house while the event is going on. And, as they're just resting up a little bit or whatever, you allow them, the expectations are less. Don't expect your introverted partner to then want to do social things for the entire day or the entire afternoon, to talk to everyone in the neighborhood. They may only talk to 2 of the people. Right. But that doesn't mean that they don't have they don't have good relationships, or they're not going to be able to have good relationships with their neighbors. They just will take longer to meet everybody, whereas you would have a good sense of who lives where, how many kids they have, etc., etc., etc. You first of all make room in the mind, and I always go back to starting with the thoughts. Make room in your mind that this is not a bad thing. This is just a different thing, and how you deal with it and how the other person deals with it will be different, but it's not insurmountably different. And make room in your mind as you make your planning, as you do your different activities, that it is going to be different, and that is okay. So if you want to go, you are on vacation for 2 weeks and you want to go out every night of the week or every day of the week, make plans that you will have to maybe go out with your other friends for a few, for several hours or whatever, but also make time for your introverted partner who may only want to like do something quiet with you for 2 to 3 hours, and then they want to rest in the room. Give them the space to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it goes back to value and being able to understand and respect and value the person for who they are. I think the challenge keeps coming when it's like you want that person to change. Why can't you be more of this? Why can't you be more of that? And any human being who experiences that, they're gonna dig in. Mm-hmm. They're gonna dig in. They're gonna push back. Not because you may not be right that it should be more social. They're pushing back because what they're hearing is that you don't see me as important. You don't value me.
Right. Right.
And that pushing back is a natural, very very natural. A very natural thing.
Now, I see Luenda had a question. I want to make sure we respond to it about the different kinds of introverts and extroverts. Mm-hmm. For most of the temperament theories, there are 4. So even like, I didn't mention this one earlier, Myers-Briggs is also one of the temperament theories. They're usually 4, 2 extroverts, 2 introverts. And so it's depending on the theory you're working with, they may be called different things. I tend to lean towards the choleric melancholic paradigm because that's the one that was so a watershed for me in my earlier life and in my early leadership life. But they all basically have similar characteristics. There may be differences in how they explain them. So I don't want to. I find it hard to kind of get into the different types because it depends on which theory you're working with. However, your extroverted people may have a combination of qualities where you have those who are strong leaders, and the strong leaders can sometimes be a little abrasive. Mm-hmm. So you have those. Then you have the strong, just extrovert. They have bright ideas and they will go off on the ideas. Oh, Luenda, so you're going with the melancholic choleric theory. Okay, good stuff. Those of you but many of our viewers may not be aware of any of the theories, so I don't want to get them mired into that. You and I have that fundamental understanding, so we can definitely talk about that. But I want to give a general sense. So the extroverted ones, they generally, you have the ones who tend to lean more towards like leading. They have strong leadership qualities, but they also tend to have poor social skills in terms of how they speak to people or how they present with others.
They can't see.
They tend to be rather abrasive. They attend to details, but just enough to get their projects done.
Mm-hmm. Which could be construed as being selfish. Right.
And then you have the other extroverts who are just, your social butterflies. And so they never meet a stranger, that kind of person. Then you have your 2 introverted types who generally are more, they're more in their head. They think a lot more. They're slow to warm up. They can appear standoffish in new situations, but they're actually not standoffish. They're more discerning. They tend to think through things more. One will tend to. They both have a tendency towards negative thinking, so that's something that they have to look out for. They tend to see the holes in a new plan or project before they see the promise of the project. However, you need them because those are the people who are going to make you plan well for contingencies, right, Sean? Those
How does
risk management planning.
How would that look in a relationship?
I was just going to say, the person in the relationship, that's why I mentioned earlier, that person is going to be the one who's going to say, that's a really great idea, but how does that match with their long-term goals of making sure we have this for retirement, plan for college, da-da-da-da. Whereas the person who is a little more short-sighted is probably going to be like, oh, that's a good idea, let's go for it. And they're kind of thinking like, not so much. Understand, again, that you may have a combination of the two. So we're giving you a snapshot. If you want to get more details, come to my class in August, or go Google that, okay? But you may have...
You probably should encourage people at times if they have questions, specific questions. There's a messaging link on the page, that if you have this specific question or idea that you want us to explore a little bit more, go ahead and send us a message through Couples Fight School, or send a message through the emails that we have on our pages, so that we can kind of encourage people to, that we are their point of connection, and so that point of connection really allows them to get information, I think, in a way that they may have a little bit more trust in us than they may have in Google.
But with that being said, definitely go ahead and utilize those links. But maybe when we always ask at every broadcast if you have suggestions for the next topic.
Right.
So if we have enough community consensus, we may just do a full-blown training on temperament types, and and be able to give you some more clarity there. But again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease in this case. So if you have a group of you that really want this topic, you have to speak up. That means you have to comment while you're on. You can't just come in and go. You have to comment. Hey, Miss Alethea, good to see you. Good to see you.
So that, that's kind of the, we've given some fundamentals around how people, extroverts and introverts, operate in relationships. Let's talk. We have about 1 to 6 or 7 points, and some of them that we've mentioned already, in terms of how do you find and keep love as an introvert or an extrovert. So the first one that we have is, drum roll.
Sounds bad.
The first one is, don't take these things personally. I think we've talked about around this issue at various points in our earlier conversation, is that a lot of times the person, sometimes they're driven. The extrovert is driven to social interactions. And if you take that away from them, it's like taking their arm away from them. And then so... if you get into a situation where you keep telling that person, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, it's the same thing as trying to rip their arm off.
Right.
Do you want to rip your partner's arm off? I don't. Well, if you do, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship, right?
There are places for people like that.
Right, I think so. So see that need for social interaction for the extrovert and time away for the introvert, as it is not a selfish act. It is a survival act. It is a way of responding to the world, that in a way where it's time for me to get my gas. For some people the gas comes from the social interaction, and for some people the gas comes from time away. Right. So don't take it personally, and be open to talking about, or even, I think the next step to this is facilitating, right? You might have the crazy idea of inviting the friends over. I don't know how you would get that done. If you're the extrovert, consider for a moment how respected your partner would feel if you know that they want that social interaction, and you get a bunch of their friends and call them and say, hey, come over and spend some time here, right? You essentially now say to that person, I respect you enough. I respect you enough to facilitate who you
Your
are.
needs. Exactly.
That stuff is the bomb. I don't believe
You've been living with me for too long. But it is. It shows, it's what you always say. It shows, it communicates value. So just as when we talked in previous broadcasts about having different hobbies and different interests, it is not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of communicating value, and that is really important. If this person likes to sit and watch a particular TV show or something like that, or they're interested in sports or some other kind of thing, it may not be your thing,
Right.
but to communicate how valuable they are to you, you want to have an understanding of at least what's going on in their world. What is this thing about? And those of you who've been here often have heard us talk about the airplanes. Often, that's our thing. Right. Well, our thing as in...
It's my thing, it's not really, yours. It's like... But
at the same time, I hear and I understand some of the things. I understand some of the models. It's airplanes and models, doing
right.
models, and that is his kind of. We're both creative. We're just creative in different ways, and that's his kind of thing. So one Christmas, he got a train set. I mean, like one that you put together and it actually
right.
runs, kind of thing. For Christmas, not because I was trying to be condescending, but it was his interest.
Right.
He got one.
Right.
And then he puts it together. Now Princess loves to see it run too. So it's about communicating. Mm-hmm. Yes, you sweetie. It's about communicating value. And that is what is important to communicate to your partner, is that they are valued in the relationship, and who they are, what they like as a person is valuable.
Yeah.
To them.
So the next one we've already talked about is be aware of the recharge principle. Just know what allows your partner to recharge, mm-hmm. and facilitate that. Mm-hmm. Make it happen for them. Mm-hmm. Because maybe the more you facilitate that, the more they may be willing to kind of come to your side in terms of compromising on other issues.
Exactly. This may point also to another practical example. New parents. And so mom may be the extroverted kind, etc., etc. You guys made a decision that she's going to stay home with the kids, or she's home with the kids for a certain amount of time. As a discerning partner, as one who respects and wants to communicate value, you can create some time so she can get away with the girlfriends, or go out and do something, a day away where she can just go do what she needs to do, hang out with her friends or whatever, get a sitter, or take off work and take care of the baby. Mm-hmm. Something so that she can get her recharge. Because just being in the house may be comfortable for you, but it may not. It may be driving her batty. So, if she's home for the long term, you may want to build in a time when, I come in and I take over at this point in time so she can get out and do some things, because she needs to be out and amongst people to recharge. So that's one way in which you can deal with that as well.
Okay. So,
what's the next one?
Choose your time carefully. Sometimes, if your partner has not had time to recharge, that person may become more irritable. That person may become more withdrawn, and so be aware of these things. Be aware when the introvert has not had time away. Be aware when the extrovert has not had time to have social interaction. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to bring up pretty intense issues at a time where the recharge that your partner has not had time to recharge. Mm-hmm. We've also talked about this idea of respecting differences. We've kind of gone over that, and then compromising, understanding that a lot of these things are hardwired into who your partner is. So compromise is an important thing. Mm-hmm. Respect the person's right to be themselves, and also be open to setting boundaries, because your partner is an introvert. If you put yourself in a situation where you bring a bunch of people over, and that person is not in a place to have people over, a boundary may be, I don't have the emotional energy to interact right now, and you may interact for 5 minutes and then you have to step away. So be open to setting boundaries too, because ultimately sometimes what happens is that couples engage in this, whatever you want is okay, and then 5 years down the line, there's this explosive event because you haven't really you haven't really set boundaries. Boundaries are fine. Boundaries are okay. Boundaries are necessary because you're not going to have things the way how you want to have them all the time. So you need those boundaries. Speak but listen, right? You know, express yourself, express needs, especially the extrovert. Express yourself. Let the other person hear where you're coming from, but also recognize that there's a time to listen. And this is especially for the extrovert, that, you know, understanding the value of listening. You know, how much do you listen? And are you listening to understand, or are you listening to reply? I mean, this is something that you kind of hear all the time, right? The extrovert needs to probably speak more, and the introvert needs to listen more, right? So those two things really kind of work in tandem. And then the last one is to know whether these, you know, this withdrawing and this being overly social or overly pushy, whether it is a personality issue or whether you're dealing with what we call attachment issues. Because some people have been so traumatized that in reality, if without the trauma, they would have been social, they would have been outgoing, they would have been really like out there people. But the trauma stunted that growth. You know, and so that person is withdrawn, but in reality, that's not who they are. So, I mean, that's a longer process.
And I guess this is where you talk about knowing your partner's story.
Right.
So you can differentiate.
So knowing that story, and I have a really nice exercise that is pretty long. It's 2 pages, and a lot of times individuals have difficulty doing the exercise, but it's an important exercise. If you want to have access to that exercise, send me a message, and I'll give it to you for free. It's not something that I created. It's created by some other, some really other really smart people. But understand that story, because that story is going to give you access or understanding about what's really going on. And this is kind of like the higher level, kind of deeper thinking about this issue. Some people are outgoing because they're running. They don't know how to interact in a household. They don't have those emotional skills to really connect with one person, and so they spend their lives trying to do what they've done in the past, and it's not healthy, right? So if the social interaction in the relationship, outside of the relationship, trumps any social interaction or intimacy in the relationship, there is a challenge there.
Right.
So know when the introvert is really about an attachment issue, or when the extrovert is really about something else. So just as much as the extrovert may be running, the introvert also may be running too.
Just in different directions.
But one person is running outwardly to other people, and the other person is running inwardly to them, too much to themselves.
Right.
So that they're ultimately a mystery to their partner. Right. And that situation, both situations, if this whole introvert, quote unquote introvert extrovert thing blocks intimacy, then no matter how much we call it introvert extrovert, the relationship is dysfunctional, right? So let's make sure that you understand Hey, Nigel.
Hi, Nigel.
You
it's
understand?
A friend from Trinidad.
Oh, okay. You understand pretty clearly that the introvert extrovert dynamics cannot intrude on intimacy. If they do, then we need to have more conversations. Say hi again.
Hi.
We need to have more conversations about what you do to really kind of build that emotional connection. Ask the question as we close here. Ask that question to your partner. Do you feel connected to me? Right? If the answer is no, then we need to have conversations about how do you build that connection, right? So again, if the introvert and the extrovert to the interactions are disrupting intimacy. No matter how great they are a problem, they're a challenge in the relationship.
Right.
Intimacy is the thing that builds connection, and so nothing can get in the way of that. Well, it can if you want a relationship that's a problem.
And if you're joining us for the first time, when we talk about intimacy, we are not just talking about
we're not
sex.
exclusively talking about
We're
sex.
talking about the things that create connection.
We're talking about knowing. We're talking about really, really, really fundamentally knowing who your partner is. Knowing what their fears are, what their needs are, what their dreams are, what their hopes are, what their concerns are. And being a partner in facilitating those things. And that's really, I mean, obviously part of that is a sexual relationship, but for the most part, we're talking about facilitating the essence of who that person is. We're talking about facilitating that person's emotional growth. We're talking about making sure that you become a base, so that if the heavens fall for them, they can run to you and feel safe. If the heavens fall for you, what is it? If the heavens fall for you, then they can run to you to feel safe. I think it's the other way around, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. So understanding that, you know, that introvert extrovert personality styles should never disrupt intimacy. If they do, you're dead in the water.
Right. We have a lot of new people that came on while we were talking, and so I want to acknowledge those. I saw Frank earlier. I haven't seen you before, so if you're new, welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to say hi in the comments. We have Larry Revere, long time classmate.
My friend Lario.
Yes. Hi, Lario. We have Kersha, Deborah, Cedric, Gerald, Judy. Those are two different people who also joined us. Good to have you. Good to have you. I know Gerald, Judy, my sister would have invited, or maybe me. I don't know. But we are good. We're excited to have you guys. Be sure to comment. Hey, Michelle, you're on lunch break. Welcome. We haven't seen you in a while. Go back and get some last night's broadcast.
Carol.
Hey, Carol. Hey, Carol. Good to see you. If you are new to the neighborhood, say hi. Just, you don't have to give a whole lot of details. Since this is online, it's not, you know, as much social. It's not like socially intruding. So if you're an introvert, it's okay to say hi.
Just say hi.
Just so that we know who you are, because if you're not on our personal friend list, we don't always see when you're on, but we just see that we had, like, you know, X number of views while we're doing the broadcast, but we don't know exactly who's on. So we like to be able to acknowledge you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've covered the whole topic around extrovert, introvert, and how do you find and keep love. I think fundamentally, respect the differences. I mean, I think that's the thing that kind of sits at the middle of this conversation. If you criticize those differences, whether you are right or wrong, that your partner needs to come home a little bit more often, you know, from all these social interactions, or your partner needs to talk a little bit more. If you don't respect those differences, the partner is going to dig in. They are going to protect themselves because you have an imbalance in the relationship where criticism is more than connection. Criticism is more than praise. Criticism is more than giving support.
For our star students, what's the ratio?
Yeah,
criticism to praise?
Right.
What's the ratio?
What is the ratio of criticism to praise?
You have 10 seconds. 1, go.
Right. So if you know that ratio, it's a pretty intense ratio. Knowing that one, and then what is the other number, right? We're almost at 10 seconds.
Nobody?
Right, nobody
remembers the ratio? Oh, somebody's having fun with the buttons here.
So, guys.
Okay. Tell them.
So the ratio is 5-1. For every negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions to counteract it. So 5-1, 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. All right, guys. It is now It is now, we've been on for right around an hour, which is exactly where we need to be. I know it is the middle of the day for those of you who are watching this live. And, you know, for anybody who comes on at this time of the day, we appreciate you because you've been intentional about spending some time with us. And I can only thank you for that.
No, we had some people who were supposed to be guessing which one of us is the introvert and which one's the extrovert.
Which one?
A couple people said, I think they said that I was the introvert and you were the extrovert.
Right, that would be wrong. So I am, ultimately I would be the introvert and my wife would be predominantly the extrovert. No? What?
Luenda hit it on the nail. I know, she knows me really well. We're both introverts. And so we're both introverts.
But it's like introvert, extrovert. Okay.
Let me tell it. We're both introverts. However, I have a lot more extroverted tendencies, and I told you, human beings are complex.
Right.
So you can have. Thank you, Michelle. See, Michelle says I'm an introvert. Again, it's how you recharge. It's not what you do on the outside. But I do have a lot of extroverted tendencies.
But you're more introverted than extroverted than I am, for sure.
That is for sure. So I am like Luenda mentioned, a melancholic choleric.
Right.
And so those of you who want to dig into the theory, just look for temperament theories and you will see melancholic, choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic. So I tend to balance solid pretty well between the two. However, what really differentiates it, I used to think I was an extrovert, but then I found out all of my recharging skills are very solitary. Mm-hmm. So I like to read. I definitely like a lot of alone time. Mm-hmm. I don't like to see. I like surprises, but I don't like too many. Right. It depends on the kind of surprise. If it's like a celebration surprise, that's great. But if it's pop up at your house kind of surprise, not necessarily. So those are some of the clues. But I love people, which is one of the reasons the reasons why we're both in the field. We love people, and so I like to get to know people, but I would not be the one, or neither of us would be the one that walk into the room and get to know everybody once. Right. In fact, we went to a networking event not too long ago.
I know, we were just
and both of us were kind of like standing there. We only knew one person at the place, and we were like, this is awkward. Within the first 30 minutes, we wanted to leave. We got to talking but the people who came to talk to us were obviously introverted. Right. Yes, Michelle, I can definitely see that. Knowing you guys as I do, I can definitely see that. Thank you. So she's having fun seeing herself on a camera here. But so yeah, so you see how that can sometimes work. So in as much since I have more extroverted tendencies, more often than not, I'm the one saying, okay, let's invite so and so over, or let's do this, with other people, and back in the day, Dr. Todd would be the one,
I know, why do
we have to? However, when we moved to our new neighborhood, who was the person that knew all of the neighbors?
I did. I knew everyone.
I had no idea. They were like, you're Carlson's wife. I guess. But I have no idea who the people are. So that's how it plays out. You just have to learn that it is not a one or the other. It's not a right or wrong. It is a way of discovering who has what strengths and using them to the best of your advantage. Remember, it is you, two of you against the world, not one of you against each other.
That's right. So guys, we appreciate you coming on today. We are going to close this broadcast. If you have a topic that you want to talk about, we actually had a couple from last night that we're gonna use. But if there's a topic that you want for us to dig into in the Friday broadcast, please let us know what that topic is. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
You're coming right at the end. We are
watch the rebroadcast.
We are winding down. We'll be done in a few minutes. So if you have a topic that you want us to discuss, just go ahead and put it in the comment section below. Other than that, we're gonna sign off in a second. Thank you guys for being on this page, for enjoying. You know, there was something.
Nigel said he's sanguine and melancholic. I noticed we're not seeing
Seeing
all of the
all the
comments.
comments.
I'm seeing some on my phone, some are coming up on our screen.
I'm so sorry. I know. It's
Lisa,
like
we told you the time last night. No excuses.
it's the middle of the day.
We understand.
Right.
That's why we love you can do the rebroadcast.
Right. And,
you know?
and so we did blended families already.
Go back and watch
if you go back in the video archives, we actually spent 2 broadcasts talking about blended families and how to deal with that, and that's like 3 hours of solid content. So check it out. Check out the archives to see about blended families.
Now, if you have, Lisa, if after watching the broadcast you have specific questions that weren't answered in either of those broadcasts.
Oh no, she's.
Oh no, you're a nurse for 12 hours. We're happy you're a nurse, but 12 hours. But if you go back and watch the previous broadcast, and I have the hairstylist working on me right now, and watch those. If there are any questions about blended families that you still have not had answered, be sure to either inbox us or either inbox us or put it in the comment section of one of the next broadcasts so that we'll know that you want to have that discussed, and we'll be happy to do that.
All right.
Yes, that was
so let's do that. But I don't remember what the topic is going to be for Friday, Thursday night. But joint Thursday night is kind of the hot night where we're just talking about we're talking about really kind of topics, all kinds of topics. But Friday, is the day where Natasha and I just really try to meet together and just share with you our thoughts, our feelings about important issues. I will be remiss if I not let you guys know that we have an app coming. What does Lisa say?
What's her options if not stylist? Oh, she's all things arts, and she also enjoys science and math. So why gamut? We don't know.
We don't know where this is going to
go.
We'll
see what happens. Music, art, experiments, science, math. Yeah.
No idea.
We just nurture everything and see where it falls.
So there's a conversational app that we're working on pretty intensely that I think every single couple needs if you're gonna train your mind to be able to actually be heard in a relationship. It's a simple app, and so it's an app that you want to not miss. You want to be able to share this with your friends and family, and you want to be able to use it with your partner, because ultimately, if you can train yourself to have conversations where each person is heard, that is really the beginning of a very solid relationship. Too many times you have situations in a relationship, and I've been there, where you think that you fundamentally understand who that person is, and you have zero idea, because there's so many parts of that person that they will not give you access to, because they've already determined in their mind that it is not safe with you. It might be safe to tell you about work and school. It might be actually even be safe to have, interactions with you every now and again.
It's daytime.
Right? But the relationship is no deeper than that. The fears, the confusions, the hurts, the needs, you will know nothing of, because you don't listen.
She's back.
So with a brush.
And her tools. Hi, Rob. Hi, Rob.
So understand that in a lot of ways, we really need to make sure that we respect the differences that our partner has, and we understand who we are. We understand fundamentally what our needs are, and make sure that we respond to our own needs by setting boundaries, but also respond to our partner's needs. So as we close, remember to check out WeFightFear.com for our books and our other resources outside of that. Hey guys, it is Friday. We have a holiday coming up. So enjoy your holiday. We will be obviously on this page every day, just sharing little tidbits.
If you have not yet, make sure to say, you have to make sure people see us, sweetie. If you have not done this yet, make sure you like and follow the page so you can get the notifications as to when the other broadcasts come on. Tandika, I know you said you won for the first time, so go ahead and definitely like our page.
Oh my God.
What?
I don't
Thanks,
know.
thanks, Dion. So make sure you like and follow the page so that we can have all the updates. Have fun, people, this weekend. So
Right now, absolutely. Grill something, travel somewhere, be safe, enjoy yourself.
be sure to listen. Be
I-
that A student to your partner
Right.
this weekend. Make that your goal. Tell us about it on Thursday.
Yep. Make sure that you make time to listen. Listen is a fundamental aspect of a relationship, and actually I may spend some time talking about this. But one of the things that I want couples to kind of understand, and one of the things I'm trying to make sense of myself, is non-defensive responding and non-defensive listening. Just making sure that you respond in a way that based on understanding what you've heard from the other person, as opposed to responding in a defensive manner. All right, guys. So the non-defensive responding is something that we're going to talk about in the future. Hey, take care. Enjoy your weekend, and we will talk soon.
Hashtag Mom's Life.
Right. Bye-bye,
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.